Hey gang, in this game, as you will see, I'm going to be playing the Tier 10 Pan-European destroyer Holland. I wanted to give you a quick rundown on the numbers of the ship, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail probably during the game, at least a little. But I wanted to show you what it's like, the way that I've set it up with various modules, and then I can show you the changes with the commander and when you get 21-point commander, some of the things that you can do with it. So we'll just start with the guns. There, you've got four of them, two turrets, each with two barrels. They're not what I would consider particularly effective. The HE shells do 750 max damage with an 8% fire chance. The AP 2100 max damage, but they do have a 2-second reload, so you are able to put out a fair number of shells. The base torpedoes, they're two racks, quintuple racks, so 10 torpedoes at a time can be tossed out. The torpedoes are really fast. The base speed on these torpedoes is 86 knots with a max damage of 10,700. Now, maybe you're aware, maybe you're not, that really the trick with most of these destroyers in this line is to get damage over time by using your torpedoes to cause floods or your guns to start fires. And then as soon as someone repairs, you hit them again, you get another flood or another fire, and you can do a lot of damage that way. And these torpedoes reload fairly quickly. The base reload time is 100 seconds. So let's go through and just kind of show you. Yep, 2 seconds is the reload time that, according to the way that I've set up the guns. The torpedo reload time is 85 seconds, and that's 15 seconds faster than what you'll find in the World of Warships wiki. Now, why is that? Well, let's take a look here. I use main armaments mod 1 to keep things from being destroyed. Engine boost mod 1. Torpedo tubes mod 1. I want to keep my torpedo tubes in the game, and it does add 5% to the torpedo speed. Propulsion mod 1 just allows you to get out of some place more quickly. So if you're using an island for cover, somebody's rushing you, you can accelerate and get out of there quickly. I'm also using the concealment system mod 1 because the base concealment on this ship is a respectable 7.39 kilometers, but you can see the way that I've got it set up that I'm at 6.7, and that's with no commander. And then finally I round it out with torpedo tubes modification 2, which gives a decrease of 15% to the torpedo tube reload time, although you do increase your risk of torpedo tubes becoming incapacitated by 50%. So that's what brings down the reload on the torpedoes to 85 seconds. That's pretty strong. You can see I've got some flags. There are probably some signals that that I could use and make the ship more effective. But in this case, I didn't have it set up. So we'll go back to port and we'll bring our commander, Jerzy Sversky, and give you some idea of what, if anything, may change. Okay, so our gun reload still at 2. Nothing's really changed there. The torpedoes now up to 90 knots of speed, and of course the same damage. And the reload has dropped to 76.5 seconds. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for torpedoes that are this fast, especially. That can allow you to, say, put a set in the water. If you land something and it gets a flood, wait 10 or maybe 15 seconds, throw the second set in the hope that maybe they'll damage con, and then you can hit them with another, start another flood. Or if you've got friendlies in the area, maybe they're putting HE shells on them to burn them down. Okay, so that gives you and the concealment now down to a very respectable 6 kilometers. That is, I think, enough about that, just to give you some idea of kind of the capabilities with the commander and using modules. And now we'll get to the game. Okay, so here we are. I am playing the Holland. I gave you the rundown on the base numbers for the guns and torpedoes and concealment, and then kind of went through what changes were made to those numbers with the modules that I used, and then also with the commander, Jerzy Swirsky, that I use, so that you'll have maybe a little bit better understanding of what is possible with this ship as compared to what you see either in port when you're looking at something, or in the World of Warships wiki when you're looking at something. As I generally do at the start of any game where I'm playing a destroyer, unless it's a destroyer that has terrible concealment. For example, the Russian now special or premium destroyer Khabarovsk. That thing is more of a really fast cruiser, in my opinion, than a destroyer, especially since they nerfed the range on the torpedoes to make them, well, pretty much entirely ineffective. But in this case, with a base detection, a surface detection range of 6 kilometers, I'm going to go ahead and move on in here and see what I can do to help secure this cap. Now you can see on my port side, we've got U-2501 and Friesland moving to the Alpha Cap. They're backed up by Charles Martel, Montana, Missouri. Then on the starboard side, Star Kitakaza, U-2501, and Bismarck and Yoshino. Directly behind me, Lion and Kremlin. Now, why am I doing this? Well, I want to be able to escape through this little gap that is just ahead of me on my starboard side. Very rarely will someone throw torpedoes into the side of an island, but they will throw torpedoes into a gap. Now, it's not that it never happens. Sometimes you can sit in front of an island like this and get torpedoed. But more often than not, if you're sitting broadside in front of a gap, you're going to get in trouble. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take a kind of a chance here. I don't have smoke. I can see that the indicator is pointing that it looks as though they are on the other side of the island. And I'm going to see if I can't get torpedoes through there. No. I don't want to get any closer. We know the red team is in Charlie, right? Our Star Kitakaza is trying to keep them out of there. And this is really risky what I'm doing right here. I do not recommend this. I am sitting flat broadside in front of a gap, and almost certainly there are going to be torpedoes coming. So I'm already angling, and I'm really just hoping to catch the U while here. Now I just checked to be sure that I could run through that gap. Now I'm going to catch him with a torpedo, I think, here. And now I have to finish him with guns and then run to get away from his torpedoes. Now I do have a heal and he does not, but you can see I'm starting to take some fire from behind, so I've got to get the heck out of here and finish him quickly. You can see I'm angling now to avoid this torpedo strike, as it is almost certainly coming. I happen to move just far enough ahead to avoid those shells, and now I'm angled reasonably well, and I do manage to avoid his torpedo strike. Okay, so that's first blood, and I'm able to now work on securing the cap, and I've only got 12 seconds until my torpedoes are back up. And the nearest thing to me is out that way, but with our Bismarck right where he's at, and our U-25 right where he's at, I'm going to just kind of ignore that whole area, because it's got to be all the way out to where you can see the Halland on the minimap, the last known position, right? It's got to be out. But now things have changed, and I've got something behind me. I'm going to stay angled in case torpedoes are coming this way. We've still got Fletcher and a Halland, as well as Blau and U-2501. So I have to stay angled to likely lanes for torpedoes. And now I'm going to try and use this island to avoid torpedoes and get over here and see if I can't help my teammates at Charlie. Now, if I leave this cap and it starts immediately to flip red, well, then maybe I turn around. We're about to take the lead. We're up by 2 points now. The red team did secure the Charlie cap, but we've got a Bismarck sitting in it right now. They're not getting any points for it, but the Bismarck, well, pretty obvious he's about to get sunk, right? Is this Bravo cap flipping? Nope. Bismarck goes down to the Halland torpedo. U-2501, well, he's he's not going to be able to do much about Montana in that position. I've got torpedoes coming this way. I'm going to try and preemptively put shots out for Minot and Montana and just kind of get myself behind this island here. And I have to hope that, and if I didn't see the Star Kitakaza sitting there keeping him spotted, I would have stayed there, so he would have stayed spotted. But I didn't have to do that. Unfortunately, no flood, but 38 seconds from now I'll have more torpedoes back up. And you also have a narrow spread on these things. You know, I really spread those out, which the wide spread on this ship is the narrow spread on most other lines. The narrow spread on this ship is very narrow, which can be very fun. You can see the Halland there. I doubt there are torpedoes coming through this gap, but I do have to be mindful of that, so I'm going to keep this angle so that I can turn hard to starboard if I need to. If there are torpedoes on the way, they're probably heading for the Kremlin. What is Montana going to do? Well, there is a torpedo from the sub, so I'll just move forward here a hair and avoid that. But I do want to create a little more distance. I don't want to get spotted by their sub. So at this point, the red team is pushing into the Alpha Cap. They've secured it. Our 2501 and Friesland down there, they're doing all they can, but our Montana is basically unable to put guns on the red team right now. And that is probably going to hurt that Montana. Boom, boom, boom. 3 torpedoes. I do manage to pick up a couple floods. Is he going to repair? Nope. Looks like he already had, so that is going to flood for a bit. And our Star Kitakaza is trying to add to that a fire or two. You can see there's at least one fire burning. There's not much chance the Montana is going to survive this encounter. Kremlin, he's doing a pretty decent job of trying to use his guns while avoiding getting taken out of the game. And we do manage to drag the Montana down. So that's kill number 2. The score is very close. We have a very small lead. But that's about to change because the red team has 2 caps. We only have 1. Now our Lion is sitting in the Bravo cap. And so even if a red destroyer or sub goes in there, they won't start flipping it until or unless Lion is either sunk or he leaves. I'm going to try and help secure the Charlie cap. And it looks to me right now that the Star Kitakaza is planning to do the same. Now, it's possible that he may go help the Lion. And I'm going to put some torpedoes out in the hope that maybe I land one. And those are Minot shells, right? You got the Minotaur out there just kind of raining on the Kremlin as their Conqueror floods out our 2501 and blaps our Friesland. So their Conqueror, he's having a pretty strong game in the early going. Now, why am I concerned here? Well, the shells keep coming. They're landing. That tells me something is spotting our Kremlin. And since there are a Halland and a sub out here, there are probably torpedoes on the way. So what am I doing? I want to position myself to spot, which you can see that I just did. I also wanted to be able to detect torpedoes as they're on their approach, which you can see I did, to give our Kremlin as much time as possible to get away. I've got to try and help finish off the Halland, and our Star Kitakaza completes the job. And now that opens the door to being able to pick up the Charlie cap. Looking at the mini map, you can see as our Montana finishes off their Bismarck, you can see the last known position of their U-2501 was at Charlie 6. So I should be able to secure this cap uncontested. And our Kitakaza is maybe a little bit anxious about what our Kremlin is doing. We're down 6 ships. The red team is only down 5, and they also have a points lead, but securing this cap is definitely going to help with that. Grau Almirante Thrawn is seemingly moving this way, and I might be able to help, but not if I get myself detected and the Minotaur starts putting shells on. So I don't want to get detected. I want to try and stay out of sight. U-2501 is about to square off with our star Kitakaza and our Lion, and maybe I catch him on this corner. I put torpedoes out in the hope that maybe I can catch the Minotaur, and I want to keep myself in a position where I can run over the top of the U-2501. So that's what I'm going to do. My guess is, at this point, that he's probably turned north to make use of the Minotaur. But it's really hard to tell. This would be a really bad spot for me to get detected. But I am going to go ahead and put some shots out, make use of the island, and then pray that the U-2501 doesn't torpedo me or spot me. Now, why did I do that? Well, I was looking at the Mino, and the Minotaur can definitely finish that star Kitakaza. The Lion was in position to be able to get shots out, but only for a second. You can see the line between the Lion and the Kitakaza. A couple of islands in the way. I'm just going to try and get a little chip damage on the Minotaur here. Maybe I catch him coming around the corner, but if he's smart, he's going to slow down, so that won't happen. My team's down to 5 ships. The red team still has 6. They've got over 100-point lead. They are now in the Bravo cap. Our star Kitakaza seems determined to stay here since he just smoked up. So I really feel like I need to move back toward the Bravo cap. I also have a little bit better torpedo range than he does. So I'm going to go see if I can't make use of that. The Minotaur, he's not all that big a threat as far away as he is. Our Lion is in a position right now to not really be able to shoot anything. I'm not sure what he's moving away from or running from. Ah, there's the sub. We've got our Montana and Kremlin squaring off with Lepanto. I don't know that Conqueror can put shells on them, but we're about to lose the Bravo cap. So we're down 130 some odd points, and that's only going to get worse now that they've got the Bravo cap. Now, why did I make the comment too slow, Lion? Well, I think he did an airstrike on the sub, but it took forever. Can I put torpedoes on the Ruprecht? Well, I can spot for our Kitakaza, who I'm guessing they smoked up. No, he's just open water gunboating. That's right, because he had just used his smoke. Now I need to help with this sub. So I'm going to speed up. I've got the torpedoes away for Ruprecht. I get detected, tells me the sub is right here. There he is. He must still be at periscope depth. I have to be really careful, as he must have gone deeper because I'm not detected anymore. Torpedoes are looking good. Now that red sub that's right ahead of me, he's hungry to finish off that Lion. I have to be careful here. I do manage to finish off Ruprecht with a couple of torpedoes, well, 3 of them. I have to be careful here because if I'm using the guns, I'm going to be detectable by the Conqueror, and man, do those guns hurt. And their Minotaur, he is just chipping away at the lion. Now I am visible, and there is the 2501. Now, can I finish him? 2-second reload, right? Which you can see is down considerably. And I do manage to go dark. That's really important. You see the red circle around my ship? I was keeping an eye on that as I start getting some of these depth charges out here. I didn't want to fire if the Conqueror was going to be within that red circle.
Enemy submarine destroyed.
Because as soon as the sub went deep enough, the Conqueror was out of my gun range and I was no longer visible to him. I'm able to finish off the sub. Our team is also able to finish off the Hipper. And now it's 4 ships to 4 ships, and we're down by what, 60 some odd points? I have to count on our Kremlin to try and help with the Minotaur. Was that Landois? Is that how you pronounce that? And I am able to put a couple, 3 torpedoes, well, maybe 4, just 3. Into the Conqueror. I pick up the Confederate Award, sitting at 126,000 damage with 4 kills. And I have to admit, anytime this happens, I'm considering the possibility of a Kraken. Not that it's any big deal. We don't even win anything for any of these quote-unquote awards anymore. Have you been playing long enough to remember that? It was pretty nice. For example, if your ship detonated, you would get some signals that would make it impossible for your ship to detonate.
Engine boost deactivated.
Well, Wargaming in their infinite wisdom decided, no, players don't want that. They'd rather have fluff.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure you know exactly how I feel about that. Torpedoes are back up. Conqueror knows that I'm here. Matt's Minions is liable to be doing some maneuvering. It's not the sub that we have to worry about out there. It's the Minotaur. Now I have to say to myself here, Kremlin's got to be doing something. I mean, from here it looks like he hasn't done anything. He hasn't finished anybody off. He's just continuing to take damage from the Minotaur. But I'm sure he's hit some things, right? I can't get detected by the Conqueror. At this range, those guns are accurate enough and those shells are big enough. He could one-shot me.
We've spotted an enemy submarine.
Yeah, can I hit him? I do land one. I do get a flood, but I have too much time left for the torpedoes to be back up. See if I can keep him spotted. You can see the Belau, where he was located. He's just sitting right underneath our Montana right now. Now, I thought about using the guns here, but if I use the guns, the Minotaur is going to spot me and shred me. So all I can do here is get into this cap. Now, that tells me 2 things. Tells me the Minotaur is, well, I now know he's right at the edge of the cap, where the little pie-shaped indicator is on the mini-map from my ship, the radio location scale. It's telling me kind of where he is. And our star Kitakaza lands a shell or 2 and puts the Conqueror out of his misery. And I know where the Minotaur is hiding. Now, Star Kitakaza, plainly, smart decision, running for the Alpha Cap. That's going to stop their points there. We've secured a lead with finishing off the Belau. And I'm just going to sit here long enough to allow the Kitakaza to get into the red cap. And now I can get out of here. It doesn't matter if they get points here. We've still got the lead. Kitakaza is going to sit down there and secure that cap. The only red ship left in the game is the Minotaur. And unless he finishes off the Kremlin, which, you know, anything is possible, it's World of Warships, this game should be in the bag. I'm not going to sit around and eat a torpedo from the Minotaur or get surprised by the Minotaur. Probably going to drop some celebratory depth charges here in a moment, because we have managed to finish off all but 1 ship and turned this game around. This was a close game. There we go. Now we're celebrating. This is a close game. We managed to pull this one out. It looked like it was probably going to be a loss, and it ended up being a win. I feel pretty darn good about it. I had one recently, actually my first game in the Bungo, 270,000 damage, and we lost It's arguable, of course, why we lost. I feel like if our CV had been focused a little bit more on spotting than on doing very little damage in his tier 8 CV, we might have won. But anyway, we won this one. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I appreciate very much that you spent a little time with me here. We're going to very quickly take a look at the after action stats. Nope, I guess we're not. I forgot how old this replay was. Thanks again for joining me. I'll see you next time.